Merry Christmas to all my friends and viewers. This is Kevin. I'm here at home today, just taking a break from the frenzied consumerism of Christmas shoppers, battling it out for cheap Chinese-made goods in an attempt to find some happiness in their lives. It's often said that we need to put the Christ back into Christmas, and that I do agree with that sentiment. And thinking of that quote got me thinking about the Bible and some of the words that Jesus Christ actually said. There's one passage in particular that I find very interesting and that I have perhaps an esoteric interpretation of. Now, I'm in the King James Version Bible for you purists, and I'm reading out of the book of Matthew, chapter 5, 44 and 45. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. Now, in the big box churches, the 501c3s that I've attended, their interpretation is generally pretty straightforward and I think pretty accurate. The idea being that as the sun and the rain fall on the good and the bad, so must your love fall upon the good and the bad as well. I think that's a pretty good straight-up interpretation. I've also seen a case made for the idea that because Christ, while on the cross, prayed for those who were crucifying him, we should emulate Christ to that degree and be as loving and as forgiving as well. And I think that's legitimate and a decent interpretation as well. A third option, though, that I came across the other night is a bit more esoteric. It's a bit more harder to suss out, as our British friends would say. Let's look at the term enemies here. Enemies, people that curse you, that use you, that hate you and persecute you. All these adjectives describe someone who has some intimate knowledge of you, someone who knows you fairly well. So, in other words, these enemies aren't going to be strangers. They're not going to be drunk drivers who happen to plow into you, or wrong place, wrong time murderers, etc., etc. These enemies are people who know you and people who are committing acts against you out of spite or out of hate or out of jealousy or out of religious persecution. So the reasoning I see, or a reasoning I see, a third interpretation for this passage, what is the end result that these enemies bring about in you? What's been the end result when a good friend turned out to be a backstabber, or a coworker ended up not being trustworthy, or a boyfriend or girlfriend cheated on you and broke your heart? Immediately, the impact was pain and hurt and resentment and unhappiness. But eventually, hopefully, that pain and that negative feeling gave way to understanding, to a better grasp of reality. Much like the child who goes up to the stove and is told repeatedly by the parents, don't touch it, it's hot, he or she usually doesn't know that for sure until they actually touch the stove. We're much the same way, in that our belief system is heavily based on feeling. We have to feel something to believe it. Very few people I know go to a church or any other temple or place of worship, read through something, logically say, yep, that makes sense, I'm a believer. There's some sort of feeling that precedes belief. So in this instance, in Matthew 5:44 through 45, what we're seeing here is a series of incidents that cause a hurt, a negative emotion. But what do those negative emotions lead to? Generally, if you can adjust through them, they lead to an understanding, a better understanding of reality, a better understanding of reality than one had before they were hurt by these enemies, which begs the question, if these people are teaching lessons, if because of encountering that person or these people, you become better or stronger or more pure in your understanding and reasoning, are these people actually enemies at all? And on the other side, will they be your friends? Something to consider and something to think about as far as why Jesus Christ says, don't curse your enemies, but love them. Something to ponder? Hopefully you do. And hopefully you have a very, very Merry Christmas. God bless.